Hi everybody, it's Christina Quick, the Tarot Biz Mentor here from the Profitable Psychic Divination and Business Academy. Welcome to another video. So today we're going to be talking about something kind of intense. So let's talk about some of the fears, 3 fears in particular, that are keeping you from success in your spiritual coaching business, keeping you from making income. It's a really big deal, so let's get into it. All right, so here's the thing. I talk to hundreds, sometimes even thousands of people every single day, especially through my online community. I have 2 online communities. I have the Psychic Hotline School, which is a group on Facebook, and then I also have another group on Facebook, which is the Profitable Psychic for everybody else who is ready to get off the Psychic Hotlines. Okay, so even in both groups, this kind of comes up a lot, really. It comes up pretty much almost every single day. And I talk to diviners, psychics, I talk to tarot readers, oracle card readers, astrologists, numerologists, Lenormand readers, I mean, you name it. If you are involved in some type of psychic development or psychic readings or anything along those lines, some type of spiritual modality, Reiki people, people who work with chakras, that sort of thing. I talk to all those people, and the thing that most people say and ask is, where are all the people that want to do the work, right? So this comes up all the time in my online communities, this frustration that tarot readers feel. And actually, I remember going through this very similarly. And so I think I have a lot of wisdom to share on this. And I hear it mostly in the groups, but also a lot of my colleagues also will say this as well. People who do kind of similar things to me, like psychic development trainings or teaching cards and things like that, tarot cards. Where are all the clients who actually want to invest their time and energy into doing the work? Because there is no shortage of people out there who want life coaching sessions. There's no shortage of people out there who want psychic readings. But there seems to be this illusion of a shortage of people who actually want to do the work. When it comes to attracting clients for readings, that's really easy. Love and relationship readings, or what are they thinking and feeling? More of like the fortune telling kind of aspect to divination or spirituality. So where are the people that want to do the work? Where are all the people that want to improve their lives? Or where are the people that want to get away from the narcissistic ex? Or where are the people that want to quit their job and start their dream career? Where are the people that are willing to put in the effort and to follow through, right? And so what it really comes back to is this craving that most tarot readers, including myself, have. And it's that craving of wanting to help someone achieve more in their life, and help them achieve more in their life. We want to help them identify limiting beliefs. We want to help them with shadow work. We want to help them, with various modalities to change from the inside out, to provide a transformation for people. That's what people like me and you, who are probably watching this, kind of got into this industry because we were so transformed by those modalities ourselves that we now want to share that transformation with others as a facilitator of those experiences. And we want to do that because it's in our DNA, it's in our soul, it's our soul's calling, right? That's why I created this brand new archetypal system and new course to how to teach you how to discover your soul's calling. That's down below in the comment section if you want to check that out. But yeah, so we want to do more of the alchemical work. We want to do more of the energy shifting. We want to see that our clients are thriving, that they're becoming independent. That we don't want to see them become codependent on us. We don't want to see them become codependent on readings. We don't want to see them become, have a reliance on divination and things like that. Without changing something, because that feels icky to most of us. And for some people that are just fortune tellers, that's okay. Okay, so I'm not speaking to those people. There is room for you if you just want to be a fortune teller, if you just want to be a tarot reader. That is valid in and of itself. But who I'm really speaking to today is the person that wants to be more than just a tarot reader. There's nothing wrong with being just a tarot reader, but there are a bunch of people out there like you and me who want to be more than just a tarot reader. So And we want to help people do shadow work and root out limiting beliefs and overcome trauma and work through trauma and clear our negative energy and ancestral healing. And I mean, there's just so many different modalities and so many different methods out there. I work with so many different people. I have really a diverse culture around me that I've created of different types of healers and teachers and mentors and coaches and readers and things along those lines. And so we want to really start attracting the people, the types of clients that want to do the deep work, that want to take responsibility for their lives, that want to eventually one day not need us. Right? That's something I always say, that, my greatest hope is that whenever I start a new package with someone, whenever I start working with someone, the very first thing I say is that I'll know my job is done when you don't need me anymore. Right? When I will know that I have succeeded in my role, in my, in whatever karmic connection we have in our lives together. When you don't need me anymore, when you aren't reliant on me anymore, right? And that's such a weird place for most people to think about. It's such a weird energy to kind of be in, but it's true. And I think that if you really think deep down and you really resonate with what I say, you will see the truth in that, is that we're not meant to be we're not meant to be caretakers of someone. We're not people's parents. We're not their significant others. We're just guides, right? And we're temporary guides at that. And so you can do this. You can start attracting those rare, magical soulmate clients, as I call them. They are out there. There's a lot of them out there. But here's the thing. Here's the truth of it. They aren't looking for a tarot reader. They're looking for a spiritual life coach. And you have to use the language that people are searching for you with in order to come up in those searches, in order to appeal to those people. If you're just calling yourself a tarot reader and that's all that you're posting about is just readings, you're not going to get really a lot of people that want to do the work, because they associate you as a fortune teller. They associate you as someone who just does readings. If someone is out there and they're looking for a spiritual life coach and they're looking for someone to work with on a more intimate level, they're going to be using different terms and terminology to find you. And one of those terms is a spiritual life coach. That tends to be like the umbrella term that most people are looking for when they look for someone like you and me. You will not get those clients, those rare unicorn clients. Also, they're going to pay higher end fees because they value your time, because they know that there is a direct link between how much they're paying and how invested they are. So if you're on social media or you're on whatever, YouTube, and all you do is you post about how you have openings for $25 tarot readings all day, guess what? They're not going to be attracted to you. They're going to think that that's a joke. And so, if you are, or you're doing like cards of the day or the weekly horoscopes or tarot scopes or monthly, or whatever people do, that works for some people. But if you want more, that is not going to work for you, and the type of client that you really want is not going to be attracted to those marketing methods. They don't watch tarot scopes. They don't read cards of the day. They're not that type of person. They do that stuff on their own. They don't need other people to do that for them. What really you become is a sounding board, and you use those divination tools when necessary to support your client. But that is not the basis of why you are working with that client. I know that's kind of a difficult concept to grasp, but that's just the truth of the matter. And so they're going to be looking for a spiritual life coach. So what that means is that you are going to have to deal with your stuff regarding owning and claiming that title. There's so much baggage that comes along with that. In fact, in my Market Yourself as a Spiritual Life Coach course, which is my signature course, there's a 12-module training. It's all on demand. Once you enroll, you get right in. The very first thing that we do, the very first thing that we do is a 2-hour training on the fears that keep you from owning and claiming the spiritual life coach title. And it's all about that first training, and that first two, actually the first two trainings are all about how to deal with imposter syndrome and why imposter syndrome is not your friend. It's not helping you, and how it's actually harming you more than anything else. And it's keeping you from the clients that you really, really want to work with, even though I know in your heart, you really want to work with those magical unicorn clients. And you're really serious about that, but what you're doing and how you're showing up is not in alignment with what's in your heart. And so that's what those first two trainings that we do is we really dig deep into that, and we figure out where those thoughts and where those limiting beliefs are coming from. It breaks down to different things. Like it could be culture, it could be society, it could be parents. I mean, it could be a whole bunch of different things, but there's, a couple core ways that those limiting beliefs kind of get implanted. And today, I really want to talk about the 4 main fears, which is actually one main fear, which is the fear of success, which is kind of boiled down into 3 different fears that kind of stem off of that. So think about a Venn diagram, if you will, kind of where you have like the fear of success in the middle, and then you have these kind of 3 other fears that are kind of circling around it, creating this vortex of negative energy. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm going to give you some examples of how that might be showing up for you, and how maybe it was implanted. This is by no means a fully conclusive, training on this. Again, that's all in my Market Yourself as a Spiritual Life Coach course. So if you are resonating with this information and you're like, wow, this is me, wow, this is really helpful, then I really want you to consider joining me over in that course, because I think you'll get a lot out of those first 2 exercises that we do in the course together. And so those 3 main fears that kind of encompass and circle the fear of success, it's really, the fear of success is like a super fear. And that's why it's so difficult to really get over, and why it takes so long, and it takes people like me, like coaches, and being involved in communities like the communities that I run, the Profitable Psychic and Psychic Hotline School, why you have to surround yourself with people who are committed to overcoming these fears, because you have a lot of people in your life that are enablers, and you have a lot of people in life that you surround yourself with that don't want you to succeed, basically, because it makes them feel unsafe. And so if you're constantly listening to those people, and that's constantly who you surround yourself with, it's even much more difficult, even if you're doing the exercises, to really get much out of it, because it really is a total lifestyle change. And a lot of people, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a cumulative thing. It kind of builds up over time. But my intention today is, for today's video, I wanted to touch on them a little bit. I want to give you some ideas about how these fears are sabotaging your success, because I really want you to be a successful spiritual life coach. I really want you to have your dreams come true. I really want you to be in your dream career. I want you to be able to work with the people that you want to work with, to make the income that you really want to make. And I know it's possible. You just, you have to meet me halfway here, if that makes sense. And so even the best marketing strategies will also fall short. So this is where we get into, there's 2 main things, right? There's strategy, which is more of like the sacred masculine, and then there's mindset, which is more like the divine feminine ways of doing business. And so you actually need a healthy balance of both. If you're really good at one, you're slacking on the other, you're not going to see as much results as you would if you were to work on those 2 things kind of independently, and then see how they can kind of come together and merge together. And what that will do is it'll help you fix these blocks. I mean, so you obviously have blocks. I don't know any spiritual life coaches that don't have blocks. And so if you do have blocks, and you do have resistances, and energy that you feel is like negative or heavy within you, that's like rocks in you, keeping you from being free to pursue what it is that you want to be and express and create and help people with in this lifetime that we have here together. It's the imposter syndrome. It really is. And it will help you to work on these every single day. And some of you don't even know that these are a problem. So that's really my intention, is to to let you know that these could be a problem for you, and to give you a little teeny bit of advice about how to kind of deal with them, how to kind of start working through them. And so let's just go ahead and get into it. So the one of the other fears that surround, that's like the fear of success is like this superimposed fear, and then there's three other fears around it. Those other three fears are fear of responsibility, fear of attention, and fear of power. Those three fears. All right. Those are all very valid fears, by the way. If you struggle with any of this, that means you're a normal human being, that you're not a sociopath. And if you're an empath, well, then you're going to struggle with this even more, because you, as an empath, are aware of what other people think and feel about you. So it's a lot more difficult for empaths to deal with this. But if you have any of these blocks, it doesn't make you less than. It just simply means that you're human, that you're just like everybody else, and that you have some stuff that you need to work through, right? So the fear of responsibility, let's talk about that first. This shows up in many different ways, as most of these fears will. Now, what I say today is not going to be all encompassing, meaning that it's not all going to apply to every single person. There's a lot of different ways that this can kind of show up. And in my course, the Market Yourself as a Spiritual Life Coach course, I talk more about that in depth and give more examples of ways that that can kind of show up. And then there's 50 plus people in the course. So when you submit your homework, then other people can read it, and you guys can, it was like that for me too. Things that maybe I didn't think of, or certain situations that I didn't really struggle with, but other people did, right? The diversity of the human experience. So the fear of being responsible for someone's life, to the extent a life coach is, that could also be like the fear of committing to longer packages. That shows up a lot. Fear of being responsible to show up to sessions. This also comes across as, I don't even have my own life together. Why is anybody else going to take my advice, right? That always comes up. And what it really is it's fear of accountability, right? So fear of responsibility is the fear of accountability. It's kind of the same thing. And that's what it kind of boils down to. And yeah, being a spiritual life coach means that you're going to have to be a responsible human being. You're going to have to be an adult. You can't expect your clients to be responsible in their own lives and meet their deadlines and finish their homework and show up to their sessions on time if you don't do those things in your own life. So yeah, and this is a problem for people who aren't mirroring responsibility in their own life. And so the very first thing I tell people who struggle with this is, okay, so starting right now, become the role model that you need, right? Because that's what being a coach is. They're a role model. They are someone who is self-motivated, who acts independently, and who holds that space as a pillar of what embodying what it is that they're trying to coach people on. So if they're a self-love coach, that means that they should be someone who practices self-love. If they are a health coach, they should be someone who practices eating healthy and exercising, right? So yeah, to a certain extent, yes, you do have to be accountable in your own life. Now, when people start freaking out about that, it's because they think that they have to be perfect in every aspect of their life, and that's not true. In my course, Market Yourself as a Tarot Life Coach or Spiritual Life Coach, one of the core things that we do is I teach people how to niche down, how to become a specialized training, and how to really attract people through niche down trainings and niche down content. So instead of being a general spiritual life coach, I teach people how to niche down and being like a relationship coach or a health coach, or niche it down just a little bit more. And so what this does is it helps people realize what you do, because it provides a specific solution to a specific problem. But on the other side of that, also, it helps you become accountable in one specific area in your life that you can really help overturn this imposter syndrome that people feel. So maybe you're not the best at cleaning, but maybe you eat healthy every single day. Or maybe you're not the best at eating healthy and exercising, but you practice self-love in different ways. And so to find whatever, the way I say it is like this. Find whatever you're consistently good at and teach that to other people, because it's a no-brainer at that point. You're just consistently good at it. So find one thing in your life that you can consistently commit to being better at and to coaching people at, and you will find that fear of responsibility will kind of go away. And another thing too is you kind of want to think back to times where in your life you learned that, that, like, for example, it's kind of like this. If you think about times in your life, everybody has probably one or two, maybe three, maybe five or more, depending on what your life has looked like. But everybody has certain times and experiences in their lives where they weren't being the most responsible. Maybe they weren't paying their bills on time, or maybe something else. Who knows? Maybe they let themselves go in some way that kind of translated to not being responsible. So what you've done here is you've created proof that you're an irresponsible person, right? And if you were told that you're irresponsible from someone in an authority position, well, then it's kind of beaten into you. It's kind of programmed into you is what I really meant to say. And so what you're going to have to do to combat that is you're going to have to provide new examples of yourself in your life where you are responsible. So the very first things you can do is start showing up on time to things. Start getting up a little bit earlier, right? Start making plans and planning out your day, and just generally being more responsible, right? Just making that extra, maybe 20% more effort, 10% more effort to just be accountable to yourself. Maybe you don't always make the best choices, but if you think about the choice before you make it, and you weigh the pros and cons, and you think about the consequences of not making the better choice, then that at least is you're at least developing a sense of internal dialogue about that. And if you continue to do that through repetition and pattern, it will eventually become a habit, and you will eventually be able to make those decisions a lot easier. But it's a muscle. You have to work it. Okay. So number two, the second fear we're going to talk about is the fear of attention. And this is really big as well. Everybody says, I don't want to be famous, right? Or I don't want to put myself out there. I don't want to be seen on video. So if you're not showing up on video, you're not putting a marketing out there I'm sorry to say, but blogging and text doesn't really count. In 2020, people need to see your face in order to really connect with you. That's not true for every business, but it is true for spiritual coaching, when basically you're selling yourself. So if you're not showing up and you're not showing yourself, then you have no product, right? So this kind of looks like not being on video, not putting out content consistently, not speaking your truth. That's a really, really big one. Like, if you learn somewhere along the life that the line of your life path that, even good attention is bad, or you can opposite of that, like even bad attention is good. You might have a dysfunctional relationship with attention. So depending on where you are, you could be on either side of that. But most people I know are on the side of that even good attention is bad, right? Because as empaths, we tend to be really shy, socially awkward. I've talked about this before. Actually, in my last video, I talked about how I was very socially awkward, very socially shy. It took me a long time to come out of my shell and learn how to talk to people. And then it kind of looks like projections out there, like, who does that person think they are? Finding faults with people that have nothing to do with their merit or value, and everything to do with like what they look like or something like that, just that kind of self-talk that like, oh, they're just attention seeking, or they just want attention, right? And we project those things out because guess what? We secretly desire attention. And we're shaming other people as a way to kind of detach and disconnect from our own true desires, because we learned somewhere along the way that that's not safe. In whatever way that kind of showed up for you in your history. And so I see a lot of people that show up, like it kind of shows up like this so what it really boils down to, the heart of the fear of attention, is that you don't feel worthy of taking up space. I work with a lot of women. I work with especially a lot of marginalized people of color, LGBT, people who are fat or overweight, people who are on the fringe, right? They don't really, our industry, the people that are attracted to our industry kind of live outside of those social and cultural norms, right? So, I can only speak from experience, but I've been a fat girl all my life, and I now love being a fat girl because that's who I am. But for the longest time, I hated attention because I didn't feel like I deserved it, because I was too big to take up space. And so what I would do, just in my own personal life, giving you guys an example, I would wear baggy clothing, or I would wear many different shirts, or I would always have my hair in my face, and it was because I was trying to avoid taking up space. I didn't feel like I was allowed to. I didn't feel like I was worthy of having a presence, because there's so many things I was dealing with culturally, socially, ancestrally, different aspects to it, that I really struggled with feeling like I deserved to take up space. And the reality is that there's enough space for us all to take up space. And you can actually take up as much space as you want to. And you are worthy of taking up space. And it's really radical and rebellious to decide that you deserve to be here, that you deserve to be seen, that you deserve the space that you have. And yeah, so that's one of the very first things that most people uncover in my Market Yourself as a Spiritual Life Coach course is with the very first 1, 2, 3 or trainings is I start seeing them putting their pictures on their profiles, and I start seeing them putting up like banners, and I start seeing them creating social media, and it's because they decide that it's time to take up space. And if people don't like it, they don't have to like it, because it doesn't matter anyways in the long run. I mean, people are always going to have a problem, no matter, do you really think that people are going to have a problem with you? Because no matter what, it really is that. Like, even if you were perfect, even if you were the most perfect person on the planet, you're still going to have someone that's going to criticize you. So you can be like, the most awkward, unsocially acceptable type of person there is, or you can be on the other side, the most socially acceptable, the most perfect person. It doesn't matter. There's still going to be people out there that criticize you. There's still going to be people out there that have problems with you. And it has literally nothing to do with you and everything to do with them and their projections and their insecurities and, their limiting beliefs and patterns and programs that they have dealt with their life. And yeah, it's a lot. Okay. So the last one is the fear of power. And this kind of comes later. This really tends to come once you make like your first like 20K, 50K, 100K, right, per year. You start noticing that you have some power and some influence. You start noticing that people, how can I say this? You start noticing that people can be very swayed by your opinions and your decisions, for good, for better or for worse, right? And honestly, this is something that I still honestly deal with. Like a decade later after starting my spiritual life coaching business. I've been doing this for 8 years now. Started out as a tarot reader, actually started out as a medium, then went to be a tarot reader, and then started as a spiritual life coach. And this is one that I still continue to struggle with. This is one that I still have to work with myself every single day, and I have to do the exercises and things like that, and work through these feelings of uncomfortability, because I know on the other side of that is more income, more impact, and more things that I can do to make the world a better place, right? And so fear of power, well, it is juicy. There's a lot there. There's a lot there. And people with money and people with influence have power, and that's just how it is. And people shy away from power because with great power comes great responsibility. So you see how that kind of loops back around. Like it's just a tornado of self-sabotage, right? As we go through these thoughts and feelings. That's why it's so important to break these down and see them for what they really are, and start making the changes that we need to do to see the results in our lives that we know that we are capable of, all the goodness that we know that we're capable of putting out into the world to make the world a better place. And with money and power, you can create more justice, right? Power is good, money is good. And so what I suggest here is seeking out some new idols. Start seeking out people with money and power that are doing good things in the world. Start following some philanthropists on social media, and start aligning more with their energy, because the truth is that you have the capability to be a powerhouse of energy in this life, and there is no limit to the amount of good that you can do in a position of power, right? And so if you are a marginalized person, or if you've been marginalized in the past, then you know what it's like to be powerless. So one of the biggest things is that if I have the fear that kind of comes up with clients is that if I have more money, then money makes people bad. Money makes good people bad, or money makes good people do bad things. And sure, maybe there's that temptation there, but if you're a good person to begin with, money just amplifies you. It just makes you more of who you are already. So if you're not a good person, then yeah, maybe you have something to worry about. But if you know in your heart that you know that you're a good person and that you try to do good in this world, then it's not going to be a problem. It will actually just make you more of a better person, right? And so if you ever have felt powerless in your life, then you know what it feels like to be on the other side of it. So you know how not to treat people. You know what not to do, right? So there you go. 3 fears that are keeping you from success in your spiritual life coaching business. And if you are really ready to rock those fears, I want to invite you to take my Market Yourself as a Spiritual Life Coach course. And there's 12 modules. There's about 25 hours of video. There's about 300 pages of workbooks. And there's about 50 people in the course. And man, we are just doing some awesome things over there. And yeah, so I teach you like all my tricks, tips, secrets. I give you some templates even, and even invite you to our biannual collabs. We do the Summer of Magic Video Summit and the 12 Days of Christmas Video Summit, which gives you an opportunity to show up on video, present yourself to the world, and let people know that, hey, I deserve to take up space here. I deserve to be here, and you deserve to be here, and we all deserve to be here. So you can actually read about that program down in the comments below. They're in the description box and also in the pinned comment at the very, very top. So if you have any questions about that, hey, don't hesitate to get in touch. I'm very approachable. I love to talk to people. So right down below, you know, if you have any questions about the course, you can message me on Facebook, at the Reverend of Love, or you can go on my business page, the Christina Quick, the Profitable Psychic, or I have a Psychic Hotline School, or the Profitable Psychic online community. So there's tons of ways you can get a hold of me. So I'm curious, do you resonate with any of these fears? Did this kind of hit home for you? Did you have any aha moments? So if you did, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know how this training helped you. I will see you in the next video. Bye.